Dalek down. I guess he can't exterminate if he's on his back, but that's not what we're here for today. It's Mr. Mega Man Fan back again for an episode review. Mega Man Animated Series Episode 2 Electric Nightmare. And the good points and bad points of this episode are as follows. Let's start with the bad. Cutman's puns are the dirt worst, and there are a lot of bad puns in this show, but he takes the cake in this episode, and for the series as a whole, he's just generally awful. But when he says, cutting Mega Man will be a sheer delight, no. I'm gonna make paper dolls out of you? No. Cutman, stop trying to be clever. You're not clever. And Brightman, if you pardon my saying so, he looks kind of, well, I don't know, derpy would be the term these days. He doesn't look very bright, which I suppose was supposed to be the visual pun. But as far as visual puns go, I actually like Wily's plans going up in smoke a little better. That was a good pun. Even though they didn't actually say that, this screenshot pretty much says it all. And good points in this show. Dr. Light being useful. Seeing Dr. Light building robots that he intends to sell to the public and then exhibiting them at a trade expo. I like that. It shows that Dr. Light's not just some kook who's making a robot to be his son like Pinocchio. We've got to remember that he's a businessman with business plans. There's got to be some sort of logic behind what he's doing. So I like that he's inventing new household robots and marketing them to the public. It's just a shame that they're so easy to be taken over by Wily. And speaking of Wily, if he can control electricity everywhere in the city, then why couldn't he just control Rush that way as well? Okay, you're going to say he can only control things that were plugged in, but we saw vacuum cleaners chasing people around the city that were clearly not plugged in. And what's up with this show's obsession with vacuum cleaners anyway? At least this time Roll got a useful weapon to attach to her arm. She got a cutting blade instead of just something that quite literally sucks. So yes, I was happy about her character development. Although Rock is still a sexist pig in this episode, I really don't know why they thought that was supposed to be funny or why it would hold up 20 years later. He actually tries to hand her a broom and say she should stay behind and clean up. That's terrible. On so many levels, that's just terrible. Also, we're probably going to need some sort of Mythbusters Breaking Bad type special to explain the acid that the robot butler pours into the lab when they're trying to dissolve Mega Man. If it was strong enough to dissolve him, shouldn't it have also started affecting him immediately? And furthermore, he talks about his titanium skin. Is there really an acid that can break down titanium that quickly at all? I'm thinking logic was not used in this portion of the show. And I do like the logic of Wily taking over the governor's office, because why else cause mayhem and terrorize the city if you're not going to get some sort of gain from it? Taking power would seem to be a good purpose. Not that it worked out for him in the end, but hey, at least he wasn't just causing mayhem for mayhem's sake with no agenda. It's too bad he couldn't have actually put that plan into action, had the city's resources directed toward making more robots, maybe even making more circuitry to take over other power plants in other parts of the world if he really wants to go on to global domination. Why am I making Wily's plans for him? Well, maybe because he's the anti-hero of this show yet again, especially when he gets all the best dialogue, when he says things like, "Why, you overgrown pile of circuits." You just can't help but love Dr. Wily in this show. But the sexism continues to be an issue. The logic holes with electricity being a weapon, but yet at the same time affecting things that aren't plugged in. So why did they need to reprogram Rush? Why couldn't they have taken him over? Why couldn't they have taken over Mega Man and Roll for that matter? But I like Dr. Light as a businessman. I like Wily's nefarious scheme, which almost worked here. And this is the one and only chance you're going to see Pharaoh Man in the entire series. He doesn't appear again after this episode, and he doesn't get much dialogue in the episode. But if you're a fan of the classic games, you got to take what you can get when these robot bosses show up. So I'm happy Pharaoh Man got an appearance. It just sucks that Brightman was so derpy for his appearance. Overall, I give this episode 3 out of 5 megas.